Before we get into the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Today's video, I'll be trying out a new editing style. Some of these clips will be high energy, some of these clips will be very low energy. This project took me over 2 weeks, not because I was working on it for 2 weeks, but because I had to do work. So yeah, so here is everything that I replaced. This is a complete G30 coolant system overhaul. To begin, there's a lot of things that you may need and there's a lot of things that you probably won't need. For instance, these two pipings right here, you will 100% need if you don't want to leak in the future. There's two options for this. You could either get one from AliExpress without the cutout, or you can go on Amazon or eBay. There's a company called Bad Design Improvements, I believe it's called, on Amazon, and they have the cutout for that O-ring there. It's for 70 bucks. I do have it, just in case the RTV that I put over on the other one fails. The next one is this piece right here. Now this piece is your end cap. Now you may be wondering, why do I have an end cap if it's already on the car? Well, that's because this piping is made for a G11. I bought it off of AliExpress so I could try and see if it would fit, but the back end of it was too small. In case you're wondering why it's cut, I used it as a protective cover for the existing hose that's on the car right now. Now, for the piece of resistance, here is your radiator pack. There's a couple things that you're gonna have to transfer over in order to put onto the new radiator. This right here is where the auxiliary radiator pump would go inside of its plastic bracket. That plastic bracket is completely removable, but it's possible that you may break it while taking it off. To avoid that, I recommend taking a flathead screwdriver that's long enough, and right here on this end piece, it just clips in. Not the one that pushes out here, but there's one on the back side that you just pull forward. And that will help you extremely instead of staring at it for about 20 minutes. When you get your aluminum radiator in, you will notice that it seems to be 100% identical. Now, looks can be extremely deceiving. For the case of this, you actually have to cut off the end that goes on the passenger side, so that way the heater hose right here is able to wrap around it and not slice into the hard plastic line that connects onto. Now, the next thing is these. I know you guys already noticed this. This yellowing, this browning of the plastic is what determines if this radiator is bad. This is a bad radiator. Now, I know a lot of people say, well, just run it until it fails, run it until it fails. I don't like doing that. Because if I'm on a road trip or if I'm somewhere far away from home base, then how am I supposed to get this fixed? I'm going to be out several thousands of dollars because I waited. And I think that's really what gives BMW a bad rep for their name, because people are waiting until these parts fail and they're out several $1,000s, maybe even their entire life savings. So what I recommend doing is replacing the plastic version of this. Now, in case you're wondering what happened to this on my car, this area right here started to develop a pinhole leak. This seems to be the most common area on these cars where this develops a leak. You can even notice when you're about to do your reservoir tank, this may actually crack all the way off and you will have to end up replacing your upper radiator hose while you're doing your expansion tank replacement. But what I recommend doing is actually replacing it with a metal one. Now you may be asking, is metal on plastic safe? The answer is it's okay. It's not the best, it's not the worst. It will last. It's not going to detrimentally hurt your vehicle in any way, shape, or form. It's 100% okay to use the O-rings that come with these, as there's no reason to believe that they would fake the color of these O-rings, as it would cost way more money to fake the color of these O-rings and the ratings of these O-rings just to have these pass for a cheap $12 part. The next really super important thing that I want to mention is when ordering your radiator, you want to make sure that if this piece right here is on the left or right side of your vehicle, meaning this piece will be on this side, which is the passenger side, and this side will be on the driver's side. In my case, mine was on the passenger side. If you have an all-wheel drive vehicle, yours could be on the left side. It just varies on the year. Mine is a 2019 rear-wheel drive, so that is 100% based on your drivetrain and your manufacturing date. And the big question in the room, what is this? Well, this is the heat exchanger. Now you may be asking, why did I replace the heat exchanger? Well, I want cooler air intake temperatures for when I upgrade to a big turbo. This bottom hose is probably the hose that you're going to have to worry about. If you try and just yank this up, you will break this hose off, and if you break this hose off, you can kiss goodbye to probably about $120. The reason why I upgraded it is because I want to keep down my air intake temperatures as well as keep down on the turbo temperatures. I want to prevent turbo seal failure as well as any other seal failures or metal components that may fail at this stage in the mileage of this B58. I have 101,000 miles on this car. Now, in case you're worried about quality, you have nothing to be worried about. These two units that I bought, which I will leave the link in the description down below, they are quality units made by reputable manufacturers in China, okay? Now, I know a lot of people like US made stuff, but it's just too expensive to get things made here. These two radiators that I bought, one for about $460, that's with shipping. I wanted it fast, I needed it fast, I paid extra $50. This one, this was housed in New Jersey, stateside, ready to ship. Now, altogether, I think I spent just a little bit less than $800 for both. Now, you might be saying, well, I don't have $800. Well, you don't have to replace the heat exchanger. If you are going to do your upper radiator hose, then I fully 100% recommend you replace this upper radiator hose. And if you replace this upper radiator hose, you might as well just get the metal ends like I did. If not, you're just going to cause yourself a bigger headache in the future, because if you don't replace that plastic piece, it's likely to fail. If you want to take off your intake manifold twice, or try and avoid and cheapen out and just replacing this one with the plastic unit, then go ahead, be my guest. But you are going to have to replace this eventually. You might as well do it now and do it the right way. Now, I know some of you guys may be wondering, what's this right here? This right here is the heat management module. This is not a 100% common failure in the B58s. I've only seen a couple people on the forums I had to replace this, but for my peace of mind, I went to the dealership and I paid around $400 plus tax. I think it was around $420 after taxes. And I will say the yellowing of this plastic here is not on that new unit at all. So I do think that this was on its way out, but it probably had at least another 30 to 40,000 miles on it. But I do not feel like taking off the intake manifold and replacing this at 30 or 40,000 miles. I'd rather replace this knowing that I got 100,000 miles out of it, which I did. So I am perfectly fine with taking the upfront cost and replacing it to last another 100,000 miles. Now, some of you guys may argue with that, and I beg to differ, because these parts lasted 100,000 miles. Another thing on the parts list that you may want to keep note of is if you don't feel comfortable replacing or reusing your coolant temperature sensor. You can buy it from the dealership for about $50, or you can get it online for about $25 on FSCP Euro. But then again, you won't get it the same day, and you'll have to pay, I think minimum is $10 shipping on FCP, so about $35 online and about $50 in real life. Now to the super big elephant trunk in the room. We have the oil filter housing. The oil filter housing is a key component that does fail on these cars. Now, I will say, mine was definitely on its way out. The bottom seal, where I've seen a lot of people post, is hard. It's not super hard, but it's hard. It's not malleable like how the original seals come on the car. Now, you may be wondering, what did I replace it with? I replaced it with a Ball Humane branded oil filter housing off of Amazon, it costed about $180. I know you can get these off of AliExpress for about 40 bucks, but I don't mind paying the premium to have it shipped from the US here with a nice return policy. Now, AliExpress has been wonderful with returns, so I have no problem buying anything off of there either. There's a couple things that you can do to mitigate the oil filter housing from failing on the aluminum version. You can replace the bottom half of this seal with BMW ones. Personally, I kept the Chinese branded seals in there. I know it's unknown quality, but hey, I'm willing to take the risk because I took this off and I made sure to check the seal quality, feel how malleable it was, and I retorqued all of it down just to make sure. So I have no problem with replacing just the oil cooler seals if I have to. I don't want to, but if I have to, I know that's something that's manageable and that I can accomplish in probably about 5 or 6 hours. Now, I know some of you guys with keen eyes will want to see what it looks like on the inside. So this is what it looks like on the inside. You have 4 sealing locations. This one is not used. I don't know what this is for at all. On the bottom side of this, there's just 4 openings, as you can see. And this is the hard seal that I was talking about, as well as both hard seals are only on the oil side. I noticed that the coolant sides were basically fine, but I also want to mention this. I don't know where this came from. I know some of you guys may have noticed that as well. I don't know if that came from the factory or if that is something that maybe I dropped it. I don't remember dropping it, but hey, it's there. It's whatever. And a common theme that I know everyone is noticing is this browning, this degradation. As you can see, I'm just rubbing it and it turned white. Similar to my hands. But I know you guys can see this here. And this is a common theme for all the plastics. All of these plastics, man. And second to last, we have sealing. Now, these seals are from the intake manifold. In case you're wondering what the condition of the seals on the intake would look like or in what they would be like. These are the seals after 100,000 miles of being on the car, daily used for well over about 50,000 miles. Now, this one is for throttle body, and all 3 of these are on the intake, or all 6 of these, sorry, are on the intake. Another thing with sealing, if you order this whole heat management module, it will come with all the seals on it. So you don't have to spend about $16 in 2 seals, one located right here and the other one located on the back. You don't have to spend the money on it for the sealing. Now, only if you want to, and if it makes you feel better, you can order a full BMW coolant system O-ring kit from the dealership. Now, I know a lot of you guys will be saying, what? No way. Yes way, and it's very, very expensive. I want to say that the O-ring kit can run you around $480, but that's for every single seal in the entire cooling system of at least the G30s, because there's an auxiliary radiator here. You know, there's a lot of different pipings and things like that, but I want to say it runs about $480 for every single seal that will fit inside of each one of these. Now, I know there's one thing left, and that's right here. This pipe goes here, and this connects to the auxiliary coolant pump that sits just directly right above the oil filter housing. Now, I know you're seeing this browning on the outside, and you're like, well, why did you replace it? That's only on the outside. Well, that's not only on the outside. That's deep, well deep inside of it. I know it's hard to make out, but that's well deep inside of this. And honestly, if I had used this, it would have probably failed eventually. Now, I know that's a common theme. Well, if this would have failed eventually, yeah, the whole car is going to fail. Yeah, okay. I get it, bro. I get it. And very, very last but not least, you're going to have to buy the coolant that comes for your car. Now, there's two different options. There's the blue coolant and there's the HT12 coolant, which is the green coolant. The green coolant is basically BMW's universal coolant, but I do not trust using the peaks or anything like that unless I have to 100% in an emergency. Now, since this is green coolant, it does open up some doors to universal coolant options, and I have heard of the blue coolant in the car degrading the seals as well as the plastics. I don't know how true that is, but I have heard it, and this car did at one time have blue coolant in it, so I'm not really sure how true it is. It could be, it could not be, but regardless, you're gonna need at least 2 coolant bottles. For me, I use 3 full concentrated coolant bottles with distilled water. Okay, so what you're gonna need is, if you want to cheap out, these are about $28 each. So you'll be spending about, give or take, 60 bucks on coolant, depending on if you have a commercial account or if you're just doing it through retail parts. But these run about $30 each. So just expect to spend about $60 to $90 on coolant. $100 after taxes, depending on where you live. Now, if any of you guys want to buy this heat exchanger off of me, I will gladly sell it. I don't know what for. Just throw me a price and I'll happily sell it to one of you guys, because it's perfectly fine. It's no signage of failure or anything like that. Still has the plastic covering. I didn't cut it up to fit on the black one in there, so it's perfectly fine. This, on the other hand, this is scrap. That's scrap. I'm probably going to use that maybe, and that's really it. Oh, and these right here, these do not go back on the sides of the radiator, so you will have just a tiny bit of more airflow into the engine bay, which can result in a little bit more dirt, but as long as you keep up with maintenance, you should be okay. And that's pretty much every single part that I replaced on this whole entire coolant system overhaul. Now, if you have any questions, please leave them down in the comment section down below, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we can get into the video. What's going on, guys? Buntai here. Welcome back to another video. I started a little bit late, so here's what I'm going to go over. You're going to want to start by removing this bolt here, this bolt here, this bolt here, and this bolt here. These are where the brace support bars go. After you remove those, that will give you better access to your intake box. It requires a 1/4 inch drive for this, as well as on the bottom. I'm having a lot of difficulty with this one on the bottom, so I'm going to take out this whole assembly that's off of the turbo. After you do that, you're going to want to take this off. This comes off by clamping these two ends, but this is not going to just come off easily. You're going to have to use one of these and put it on this end, press up on the bottom, down on the top, like how you would normally try and take it off, and release one side at a time. It's a two-handed job. You will need to then, one finger on the bottom, one finger on top, and push down like really hard, not super hard to where the point where you think you're going to crack it. And while you're pushing down, you're also going to want to be pulling out as well. All right, so I've decided that I'm going to unplug this one. Press down on this. After you do that, there's going to be this clip here. I'm going to take this and just pull it up. Make sure both ends of the clip is actually up. And then you're going to come over here to this connector right here. Once it's out, pinch that off and pinch this piece off to remove it, similar to this piece. All right, just like a little bit of a tidbit for this piece of the intake. This was extremely hard, or extremely stuck on the inside of this inner ring, for at least me. What you want to do is just loosen this all the way up. If you have like a plastic removal tool that's curved, like bent upwards, that would do perfect. I don't have one on hand, so I risked it for the biscuit and used one of these, and I just slowly basically did this motion with two hands, obviously, underneath this, until on just this first half, until I could get it out with my hands, and then slowly worked myself around it with my actual hands and pulled it off. Now, if you're anything like me and have seen these metal ones or like metal upgrade ones, that's probably why people, get them, because me not thinking in the future, I'm like, man, why do people, why do they even make one of those? That's why. So also here, I'm sure you can notice there's a whole bunch of oil in this. Now, if you guys have oil in it, don't be concerned. It's a normal operation of the PCV system. If you're stock, you'll probably have way less oil than this. So don't really worry about it. I will be installing the Ross Racing V2 kit on this, so that way I can just try and minimize the risk that comes with this. Now that this is off, looking at it in hindsight 2020, you could have removed this whole entire line from this piece first, and then pop this clip up just like this and removed it out like that. But I was having difficulty with it, and I don't feel like spending probably what would cost $200 for this to replace it. Definitely next time I'm going to be replacing this with a metal one though. I do have a metal intake in preparation for something very special coming up. This would also be the time to check for any shaft play inside your turbo. That would let you know if you need to replace it or not. You can also check for any chips inside of the turbine wheel. Mine seems to be looking pretty okay. Just make sure you cover that up with a rag. That way you don't get any bits in there. But same thing goes with this. Same style connector if you've ever worked on a Mercedes for the turbo. So yeah, you're just gonna pull up on that and undo it from there. I came here and removed these 3 bolts that hold on the intake. It was a little bit hard just because the seal around here was stuck, but I didn't have to use any tools, just a little bit of gentle prying, and that was the solution to that. After you do that, come over here to the DME. Although this isn't a 1,000,000% needed, it makes the job a lot easier and makes you have a lot of space. So you can do this with one hand, or you can do this with a tool. But here, you just press in on this bottom piece right here and pull back. Now, each one of these are pinned in a certain order that you cannot, like, it's nearly impossible to put these back in the wrong spot unless you force them. And I'm gonna do that with each one of these. And here's the DME out of that location.
Here's the power management module. You're going to want to locate this. After you locate it, you're going to want to carefully disconnect all of the electrical connectors that are attached to the module. After you do that, you're going to want to remove the module out, and then to remove the carrier that it's sitting in, you're going to want to locate the 2 bolts that are on the top and remove those. After that, you want to just set the carrier to the side, and you'll be able to have a little bit more access to the oil filter housing bolts. As well as there's a couple of clips on the back of it. If you break them, don't worry, they're easy to replace, and if you don't want to replace them, you can just leave them be. Just make sure to wrap them in some Tessa tape. That way, wherever they do rub up against, you won't have any electrical problems later down the line.
So after all of your plugs are removed, just make sure to put this in a safe place. That way it doesn't get damaged. But there are these 2 little clips here and here. You're gonna want to pull back on these. Again, a lot of this stuff is a 2-handed job, so I'm sorry that I can't really show you guys. But you're gonna want to pull up on this, or pull back on this and pull back on that other one, and simultaneously pick the DME up. So through trial and error, I broke off this clip. So in case you guys are wondering how do you take this off, there's a middle piece right here that presses down, and it literally just boop, swings open over top and holds these DME wires in place. But after you remove all of that, I also loosened this coolant line that goes from this overflow tank to here, and I'm about to take this 10mm and loosen up the holder for the DME, that way to give me more room, because I'm going to be replacing the oil filter housing as well while I'm in here. Alright, honestly, kind of disappointed myself, but that intake manifold is no joke. Like absolutely no joke. If you are going to do this job, plan on doing this job, I really hope you're mechanically inclined, or else please seek professional help, because that intake manifold took me almost an hour to take off because of these two coolant lines right here. These are so closely together underneath of the manifold that someone with big hands like me has I had a serious difficulty like gripping these to even try and pull them off. And then when you do pull these off, you can't just like, you know, like it's not that, it's a constant like, and you can imagine how much room I had underneath of this. And then on top of that, these two very small ones. So yeah, while I'm in here, it's Saturday and the dealership closed. This, me not thinking, is for the G11. For comparison, here is this. Yeah. All right. I know this video is all over the place. Man, I really wish I could have showed you guys the actual, like, deep down in depth to it. This is what.
So to better explain this, these bolts that are located around, they are pretty hard to actually get to. I have I believe a 2-foot long snap-on wrench, and honestly, with the swiveling head on top, it's a lifesaver. Like, because how you have to get in there, you have to have like an inch socket with a 5-inch socket with the actual Torx bit on top of that to be able to get it. And then you have to reach your hand all the way down into it just to be able to take the bolt off. The hardest bolt is that one right where you see my pinky down below that, off to the right. That one right there is the hardest bolt to get to for loosening it. The other ones that are located on the outside are fairly easy. Luckily, you can slide your extension through between the transmission cooler and the oil cooler to get it off. An easier way would be to take off the oil cooler, and then after you take off the oil cooler, you can proceed to easier access to the lower bolts. But I didn't do that because I wasn't thinking about that, and I didn't kind of wanted to take it out in one whole piece. That way it was easier to manage and not have, more unnecessary fluid leak everywhere and potentially get inside of the crankcase. So this is what I had to do to fix my problem of not having the part. As you can see, it's dark outside. This is probably about 12 o'clock at night, and I just used the vice clamp to squeeze off the plastic. After I squeezed off the plastic, I just put each end of the metal one in it. After I put the metal one in it, I just tightened it down with the hose clamp. Make sure it was really tight, but not tight enough to where it's eating into the rubber. And then after that, I lined it up with the T-pipe that goes to the heat management module. And then after that, I just made sure everything lined up and was positioned right. And that was pretty much it for that.
All right. So I've already tightened these down to 5 newton meters. The torque spec for these is 10 newton meters. I've already gone in a crisscross pattern around, and I'll just be tightening these down, doing the final torque at 10 newton meters. Alright, as you can see, I removed this top clip. There's this bottom clip here. You're gonna want to push this down like this. Alright, you're gonna push it like that, and take your screwdriver and do this, and with your other hand you're gonna just lift it out of this gap right here, and it'll come out. So that's pretty much it for this one. This is a pretty hard one. In case you're wondering, also this bracket does not need to be removed, so please don't remove it. Now for this, there's been a couple people that have installed this on their B58s or 540s, and honestly I'm going to install it. I have some Permatex gray RTV. I'm not going to use black RTV. I'm going to use what they specifically make for water pumps and coolant passageways. Sorry. And so I'm going to use this. I know it will work. I know this will interface with what I needed to interface here, and I know I have the other end right over there, so I'm gonna use it. I also had to replace this auxiliary hose that leads from the oil filter housing to the auxiliary pump, and inside of here is what this looked like. On the inside of that hose also looked like this. All right, so on to reassembly. This is the power management module for the G30. Some other generations look different than this. Here's the part number in case you're wondering, and this is going to go right there inside of this little area. All of these are keyed, so just in case you're wondering, each one of these have literally their own keyway, so it's impossible to plug it in the wrong way unless you decide to force each one of these in. The two most unique ones are these two end ones, and this will sit just like this inside of that holder. Right, coming over here, just make sure all the DME lines are out of the way. And again, this only goes one way with this piece pointing forward, as you can see, lining up with this connector. So we're just gonna put this in here. All right, so first connector to go in is this. Just gonna push down this locking tab like that, and then that's properly secured in. And in case you wanna get each one of these right the first time, these are the keyways that I was talking about. As you can see, this one lines up with this right here. If it's not going in, it's likely not the right one. As you can see, just kind of remember how they were routed. And so with this one, this keyway would line up directly with that key right there and push it down. We're going to use this T27 on all of these. Of course, break these loose first. All right, so after removing all the screws, we're going to take this line out. Make sure this is just kind of set off to the side. We're going to be careful of these 2 points right here, as these are plastic and they sit directly inside of the radiator holder / cradle. So we're just going to lift up on this, set this to the side, lift up on this, set to the side, and this exposes our protective shrouding. There's actually two more after this that we're going to have to remove, but we're going to have to tackle this front bar right here before we're able to remove anything else. This piece right here just wiggles out. How I got it out was sitting like this. I just wiggled it like this, and while wiggling it like that, I pulled it that way. So it's basically gonna do the reverse order when it's time to put it back in. How I got this off was, it was sitting down like this, just wiggled it up and down while also pulling forward. It will get caught if you have this shrouding. It'll get caught on the shrouding when you're trying to pull it forward. And as you can see, it just kind of sits, these pieces right here, just kind of lightly clip into place. They really don't require any sort of pinching or anything like that. So next we're going to disconnect clips and hoses that are being held on, and there are a couple tricky ones down there, especially after you disconnect the lower coolant pump or external coolant pump. It shouldn't really take more than 30 minutes to disconnect everything nice and neatly without breaking anything. That's always the goal when it comes to these. Radiator's out, but a tidbit of knowledge is BMW is preying on you being impatient, okay? I'm not joking when I tell you, I sat here and probably looked at this, pulled it, pushed it every which way for 30 minutes, okay? So here's the secret. Right here, there's this clip, just like every other clip on a BMW, right? You have to push this piece in. This goes in ever so slightly. And as it goes in, you pull up on the heat exchanger. And once you pull up on this side of the heat exchanger, well, this side is free automatically, but it's just this top one that's hooked in right there. And this piece right here is literally what stopped me from getting this out 30 minutes earlier. So it is located on the top, these two pieces right here. So both sides have it, but I guess this side was just, I got lucky on that side. But this side, just push it in, lift up the heat exchanger. All right, if you're struggling to take this off like me, I've been sitting here for like another 15 minutes trying to figure this out, right? So this goes on here like this, right? That's just the swivel point. Don't touch anything over there. This right here slides in that. But on the back side, underneath of this, you're gonna have to come in from right here and push this way, because that unlocks this clip right here that you see. This clip holds on to this edge right here. So just think about it like this. This is the back of the clip that you're seeing, and it literally clips on right here. A couple things to explain. I just finished cutting both of these up. In case you're wondering, you do have to modify these brackets, as well as you do have to cut some things off of the aluminum radiator. You also have to cut each side of these pretty much exactly like this. There's no template, and it's basically just trial and error. If you can do this as neat as possible, unlike me, since obviously it's my first time, I will say you're going to have to cut all the way down here. You don't have to leave these corners in. If you feel like you're able to cut them out and retain the tightness of it, then by all means go ahead and retain these corners. The only reason why I retain these corners was because I wanted it to wedge it in. In my first try, it fits on nice, but it's not super snug. My second one is super snug and very hard to get off, harder than BMW one. You don't have to cut these sides off, but you do have to cut them at least down to this halfway point right here. You can cut this out. This is just blocking for it. It doesn't really make too much of a difference if you do. And if you're wondering, you also have to basically try and shave millimeters off of this bit by bit until it fits in snugly. After that, you do like a bit of trial and error, and you should end up with a very good or at least decently fitting brackets that will house your aluminum radiator. All right, so radiator is confirmed to fit. All that's left to do is saw this off, not the whole thing, just at this point right here until we hit up here. That way it doesn't interfere with the intercooler line on the top on this one, because the bracket that they made goes too far out, since it's pretty much a universal application for G series. So I'm sure this would probably fit better on a G11 than a G30, but it's still good for G30s. To make sure you want to transfer over are these are your sort of rubber grommets or gaskets or whatever you want to call them. They're just there for vibration dampening, as well as to hold it in place a little bit more. These go here. You may notice that I put some silicone grease on this. That's just so I was able to slide it in easier. It's not 100% necessary, but definitely makes it a lot easier to put these in here. All right, so to get the upgraded heat exchanger to fit, you have to cut off these ends, just a sliver of this end and this end, as well as you have to cut a portion of this out so that way it slides down easier. In case anybody is wondering what the fit and finish looks like, this is what it looks like on both sides. A close-up view, because I know a lot of people are going to be looking at this for reference. Basically, this entire side of this gets chopped. Basically, you split this in half this way. So you just run the miter saw down here, down through it, and shaving off layers at a time. And You just want to make sure that there's no protrusions on this side as well, because this, if there is, then it will get in the way. The way I cut this, it's a super tight fit on both sides. So after some deliberation, I have decided to replace the heat management module. I've seen a couple of these fail on the forums, and I decided that I don't want to take the assumed risk that that this will last for another 30,000 miles, when I know this one will like 99.99% last for a minimum of 100,000 miles. These aren't a super common failure, but as you can see, a big difference is the yellowing of the plastic, which is a clear indicator of degradation of the plastic. So in case you guys are wondering on yours, or if yours is failing, that is a telltale sign that that it could be on its way out, but not guaranteed on its way out. And you don't have to remove anything around the heat management module to be able to get this out. It is a little tricky to get in, but like anything on a car, it's just another puzzle piece. All right, so before you install it, you want to make sure you grab yourself some super lube, or just really any silicone grease. This would be the same stuff that you use to lubricate sunroofs and things like that, but in this case it's O-ring grease, but you can use this for any gasket or anything that you might need to lubricate up to slide in, including like plastic parts and things like that. You just want to make sure that it's nice and lubricated, that way everything slides on easily. And if you do choose to use engine oil, make sure it's brand new engine oil that's never been used. This isn't like the case where oil filter housing, where that little O-ring is. You don't want to lubricate it like that with the old oil, because the old oil can interface with the O-ring, and it can cause the O-ring to fail early on in its life. So what you want to do is just make sure you have some silicone grease or any light automotive grease that is not like super heavy duty. That way you can just lubricate it up and slide it on. Same thing for like all these other connectors. Like any connector with a piece like that's like this, just lube it up a little bit and you'll be good to go. In case anybody's wondering, the torque spec for these bolts here are 8 Newton meters. And the torque spec for this one that goes to the block is 10 Newton meters. Also, in case you're wondering where what these white lines are for, just make sure they line up with these marks here. And over here, there's a little sort of notch where this is supposed to line up at. It's not like 100% needed, but just like another peace of mind thing. So for the final piece, I wanted to get a smooth O-ring for this, the one that has the ears on it. But honestly, these ringworms ears, they work perfectly fine. So plus I can access them if I need to replace this hose or anything like that. So I'm definitely going to be just using this. I know you guys are seeing this indent. I'm just going to wing it and say that it will be perfectly fine. I'm just gonna line up this end of it with that, and then try and get some even compression on it, as well as this green O-ring. You can look this up online, but this green O-ring is for higher temperatures. Obviously this sits underneath of the intake manifold and is subject to a lot of heat intensity, as well as the coolant is directly coming out of the engine in this location. So there's a reason why this one is green, and there's a reason why this one is brown. They're both suitable for oil and coolant applications, but you just want to make sure you keep the green one basically. To get the upgraded heat exchanger to fit, you have to cut off these ends, just a sliver of this end and this end, as well as you have to cut a portion of this out so that way it slides down easier. Some prep work that I'm doing is I'm replacing the gaskets on the intake manifold. I'm replacing this one as well as all 6 of these. As you can see, I've already started to replace them. These are old ones. I've already replaced these 3, and as you can see, color difference, as well as there's a bit of a difference in hardness. These ones are definitely slightly softer. I do feel like if needed, or if you can't afford, definitely you could reuse these. Just make sure you put some of the super lube on it, and I'm sure it'll keep it safe for the deterioration of however long, you know, it is before you replace the intake manifold or, you know, something like the intercooler. All right, so the torque order is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the last one down over here is 7. The joining torque, you're gonna torque it down first to 5 Newton meters. Then after you torque it down to 5 Newton meters, it's going to be 10. So the final torque spec should be 10 Newton meters for the intake bolts. The stabilizer bars, these are 10 Newton meters for torquing. When plugging in your DME connectors, I know I already started doing it, but you want to make sure every single one are fully seated and plugged in. You do that by making sure, of course, the keyways line up, and you'll know that it's all the way in when you push down firmly. Okay, it doesn't do it on this one, of course. Well, actually it does. Okay. Well, here's a perfect example. If you push down and you're not feeling anything and this tab is not going up, then, you know, check your area. And as you can see, I can do that, but it'll click, but it still popped up. No pins or anything are damaged down there. So what you want to do is just make sure that each side is actually lined up on the back side and front side, and it'll kind of just drop down in place. And then when it's all the way seated, it will sort of click itself in almost. Just requires a little bit of effort from you, and all of your DME connectors will be properly seated back. I broke this. Don't ask me how. I just did. Okay. If you notice that some tape is coming off too, just make sure you get a little bit of tested tape. Costs maybe 10 bucks on Amazon, and you don't have to worry about any wiring issues. As for the placement of some wires and things like that, with the aluminum radiator, I just clipped the electronic water pump onto this here. There we go. Here, hopefully you can see down in there, but I connected the I also did grab a coolant temperature sensor that goes on that T pipe, which is in here. So just in case I have to replace that because it's leaking, I want to have temperature sensor as well as a brand new thing of this on it already. Even though it's not 100% needed, didn't get any code for it. I don't have any reason to believe that I will get a code for it, but it's just basically, you know, a countermeasure just in case. So the backup plan is that. All right, so I know a lot of this looks a bit complicated, but to explain it, there's a really good video on YouTube how to set this up. But in short, you need some Teflon tape on this separate end. You need an air compressor. This is your Venturi tube. You're going to want to make sure both of these valves are closed. It doesn't matter which direction they are closed in. Middle is on, left is off, and right is off. So you want to make sure these are closed. And as you can see right now, I stopped it right before it got to 0.8. That way, you know, I could show you guys on camera. So you turn on your air first. Once it hits 0.8 to 0.9, turn on your air first. And then once it hits 0.8 to 0.95, which is basically almost 1 bar, it needs to hold for 2 minutes. And then that's how you know it's good. As you can see here, I'm at the point, I want to say 9, but part. And how I will know if the system is leaking is if this drops down in about 2 minutes to the 0.8, or just anywhere below that. In case you're wondering what all the coolant lines look like in here, feel free to you know, feel all the coolant lines. I'm only doing right now the main coolant system, so we'll see how this holds up. Right now seems like it's holding up really good, and yep, still going on about 2 minutes now. At first I held it at or 5 bar, then for 2 minutes, then I held it at now 0.95. So after you wait, then you're free to dip this not in that dip this inside of your HT12 coolant. I've got some HT12 coolant spread around the shop. All right, it's literally been holding this vacuum for 15 minutes, so here we go. Okay, There we go. Just gonna let it in slowly. Wanna shock the system. Plus I have to watch for the coolant level. Yeah, all right, so we're about to run out of some coolant here. And as you can see, we barely even got to 0 bar. We have not even started filling up the upper or even the lower. So if you guys were doing this without this, honestly, I wish you the best of luck. Because this right here is a game changer and a lifesaver. And so now what we're gonna do, since I filled up the coolant and I filled up the oil, made sure I filled up the oil just to prove to myself, empty. I put some anti-friction compound inside of it, the liquid moly version, and we're about to connect the 10 millimeter on the back, on the battery, and after we connect it on the battery, then we're going to initiate the coolant bleed procedure. Feel free to pause it here. All right, so exactly what's on this paper is exactly what I'm gonna do, down to holding it for 30 seconds. The only difference is that since this is the Gen 2, those are not the updated instructions for the Gen 2. We're just going to open these up just enough to let air in. I'm not going to fully close these or anything like that, because we want to allow enough air in the system so that way it's not causing a bottleneck. And now that the battery is connected, we are free to step inside. We should have 2 error codes on the dashboard for the time and for the hood open. And so now, with the instructions in hand, we are, okay, it's talking about the bleeder screw. We are going to make sure that the seat belt is buckled. And we're going to press the start-stop button 3 times. I'm going to turn off the lights so I don't run the battery dead. And I'm going to press sync, lowest fan setting, highest temperature. After that, we're going to hold the accelerate pedal down to 15 seconds. So I don't hear anything. Oh, okay, there we go. So I hear it. Not sure if you guys can hear that either, but I can feel coolant running through it. Yep. That's that coolant pump right over there working. Sucking down coolant into this. Now, I should have to fill this up because I upgraded the heat exchanger. So I'm expecting to have to be able to fill it. But then again, this was way overfilled, so. Although the big reservoir has not gone down, the small one is. And I don't know how long this is supposed to run for, so it does say connect the battery charger. I think I will be fine, but if needed, then I will. All right, so it just finished the high temp coolant bleed about, I want to say maybe 3 minutes ago. It's been running for about 5 minutes. I don't have a battery tender. Well, I do, but I'm kind of afraid to use it. Kind of not really sure if I should or use that one. It is a shop one, shouldn't make a difference, but right now it's just doing the low temp. At first it did the low temp. They ran both pumps at the same time. Now it's primarily on the low temp, which I guess is the last last one to be bled. I will say that doing this probably will make a major difference in being able to get all the air bubbles out and making sure you don't overheat on the first start, especially if you're like me where probably 90% of the coolant that was in the car got evacuated out. So in case you're wondering, yes, this is green coolant. This is BMW's HT12 green coolant. So don't worry about that being the wrong coolant. So I decided to hook up my battery tender to it. Right now it's on. The battery type is AGM. Just in case you're wondering, if you want to make sure, you can come around to the back of your car, lift up the battery cover, and right there in big bold letters, you can see AGM. So I'm just gonna leave this connected. Don't know how long this coolant procedure is gonna run for or anything like that. Honestly, it's been quite some time. I want to say more than 10 minutes while it's been doing this, so that's why I kind of got a little bit iffy with this. I know that the battery is big enough to power the car to be on for I think more than like 20 minutes. Don't quote me on that, but it's about 20 minutes of battery life for the big battery in the back or more. I feel like I've had the car on longer than 20 minutes and it still managed to start up. So I don't know, but we're just gonna put it on trickle charge for now. This is a really nice battery charger. So after driving it last night and letting the engine completely cool down overnight, which is exactly what you want to do, or at least until it's cooled down well into below operating temperature, this is the result. It sucked down a lot of the coolant and basically self-bled itself. I already filled up that one. That one was extremely low, and this one is also extremely low, as you can see. So if I would have started it, it would have probably thrown a little coolant light. But we're just gonna fill those up. I'm gonna button up a couple little things, and I'm gonna install a radar detector wiring permanently now.